Hey, my friends. So, today we're going to talk about leases. A real estate lease is a contract between a tenant and a landlord that outlines the terms of occupancy. Leases typically specify the monthly rent amount, things like security deposits, the lease length, and other vital details. One of the big things we're going to talk about is who's responsible for repairs and maintenance potentially, and any rules and restrictions that the landlord may impose. So in this next segment, join me as we talk about the 4 most common types of leases that are going to help you on the exam and in practice, and that's coming up next. Okay, so the first type of lease is called the gross lease. In this one, the tenant pays a fixed rental rate for their space, and the landlord is responsible for all of the other expenses. Now, there's 2 subtypes of gross leases. One is a modified. Modified gross lease enables the landlord and the tenant to agree on which each individual will cover. For example, would be utilities. A full service lease is when the tenant pays one price and the landlord is responsible for all home living costs. This type of lease is more expensive for renters but can be more budget friendly because everything is included in one price. So the next lease is called a net lease. In a net lease, the tenant is responsible for paying rent and some or all of the property's real estate taxes and maintenance costs. In some cases, these may be passed on to the landlord in full or partially reimbursed. Subtypes of net leases include the single net, the double net, and the triple net. In a single net lease, the tenant pays real estate taxes and rent. The tenant pays real estate taxes and property insurance on a double net lease, and the tenant is responsible for real estate taxes, property insurance, maintenance, and repairs in cases of triple net leases. The third type of lease is a percentage lease. A percentage lease is a type of real estate lease where the tenant pays a percentage of their total sales volume in addition to a base rent. This type of lease is very common in retail stores, restaurants, and other businesses that expect to see fluctuations in revenue throughout the year. All right, the fourth type of lease is called a variable lease, and it's where whose conditions change based on specific triggers. There are 2 types of variable leases. One is called an index, and graduated is the second type. In an index lease, the rent is determined based on the real estate market conditions, while a graduated lease increases or decreases the rent based on the size of the tenant's business. All right, so that sums it up. So the 4 types of leases one more time is the gross lease, the net lease, the percentage lease, and a variable lease. Now that you know about the different types of leases, study the definitions for the exams because I'm guaranteeing that you're going to see these on the exam. They love to throw these on there. The way I would study for these is I would learn the definitions and be able to pair it with the appropriate lease. And in practice, you're going to see this, especially if you enter into the world of leasing, which can be very lucrative, very dynamic, and very fast-paced, depending on the jurisdiction that y'all are going to be practicing in. All right, I'll see you in the next one.